Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Keys and I'm a 5th grade ELA teacher at Sally Humble Elementary School. Welcome to MCS TV. We're so excited to have this opportunity to do a little distance learning with you all, and we've been talking about skills that are very important for 5th grade students, point of view and theme. And one of my favorite things to do is read mentor text. And we take those, since we can't read a whole novel together, we're going to read these and look at some things that each one of these has that's important. So today I'm going to talk about idioms. Well, maybe you don't remember what an idiom is. Well, I think this is one of the more fun things to look at in ELA, because when we look at literary devices like metaphors and similes and onomatopoeia, the things we throw into our writing that make it more interesting, an idiom comes up. Well, an idiom is a word or a phrase which means something different from its literal meaning. Many of you may have heard the term, "I have butterflies in my stomach." Well, I have had the opportunity to teach many ESL students, English as a second language, where when they hear and they understand a butterfly, they know their stomach, but when we put that together, the image in their mind is that there are animals floating around in your stomach. Well, we know that's not right because we've grown up with these idioms and we know that means we're nervous. Well, as we look at this story and this fun mentor text I'm going to read, I want you to think about the literal meaning of the word, but then I also want you to think about what it really means to us. And we're going to talk about that and use some sentence type strategies to identify some things and maybe do some fun things with your own reading and writing. One of my favorite books that represents idioms is More Parts by Ted Arnold. To Mom and Dad, there are still some things I'd like explained. Things are bad and getting worse. Each day it's something new. With all the stuff I hear about, I don't know what to do. Look at that poor boy. One day I tripped on my red truck and it just fell apart. But when I told my mom, she said, "I'll bet that broke your heart." Look at that broken heart. Well, I guess that's possible. Who knows? I don't think Mom would lie. I better play more carefully. This pillow's worth a try. He's trying to figure out a way to be safe. People say all kinds of things that I don't understand. Like when my dad asked me if I would please give him a hand. You can see where this is going, right? Take off his hand? Really? But we know that literally doesn't mean that. That's the literal. We know it means help him. I didn't know my hands come off, and I don't want them to. So I'll make sure that they stay on with gloves and lots of glue. Our next door neighbor had a joke he wanted us to hear. He said it's sure to crack you up. I ran away in fear. It's like an egg from Easter. Are they really cracked up? Who wants to hear a joke like that? Not my idea of fun. I gotta keep my head together. It's my only one. My teacher has me worried too. This happened yesterday. She said to stretch our arms and legs before we go out to play. Oh dear, look at that. I'm sure she thinks it's good for us, but that's just too bizarre. My arms and legs are long enough. I like the way they are. I know I've got a lot to learn. I'm little and I'm young. But what did Grandma really mean when she said, "Hold your tongue"? Oh dear. How's he going to take it out of his mouth and hold it? Literally. But we mean she's telling him not to talk too much. Oh dear. My tongue's a slimy, jiggly, squishy, slippery little squirt. It'd be my luck to squeeze too hard and lose it in the dirt. So I decided that it's best stay here in my room, because who knows when some little thing just might lead to my doom. Poor thing. Then Mom and Dad came in and asked me, "Why are you so upset?" I told them all the things I've heard that get me in a sweat. Like Coach who says before each game is ready to begin, he gets so nervous that he nearly jumps out of his skin. Or what a friend said recently, "It gave me such a fright. He claimed his baby sister screams her lungs out every night." Oh dear. Mom and Dad just smiled and looked relieved that I'm okay. And Mom explained to me the things that some people say. And though Dad laughed, I know he didn't mean to be unkind when he said, "For a minute, son, we thought you'd lost your mind." Isn't that funny? Hilarious story. Looking at everything literally throughout this story, it makes us realize what it would look like if we took everything literally. When he lost his mind, it didn't mean he really came out of his head. When he was to stretch before exercise and activities outside, we know that wasn't really what he was supposed to stretch his whole body, but this poor little boy took it literally. And sometimes people might not understand that. It just makes it more interesting when we read and write things with idioms. And we like the idea that we can understand that an idiom isn't literally that. It means stretching as in just a little bit, or screaming loudly that your lungs pop out. No, but just screaming so loudly that it hurts your ears. Well, one of the strategies for the writing revolution that's one of my favorites, and it takes us back to even almost first or second grade, is types of sentences. So why in the world would a fifth grade teacher be talking to you about types of sentences like declaratives, imperatives, interrogatives, and exclamatories? Excuse the typo, I forgot to type interrogative instead of imperative. Well, when we look at this, when we write, as we look at a writing strategy, we can take something simple as an idiom and make our writing more interesting by writing different styles of sentences. Well, what is this one? You all know this. You've learned it since you were in first or second grade. I'll bet that broke your heart. Simple sentence, right? A declarative. We put a period and end it, and then you can fill in. It is a declarative sentence. Well, what about this one? Why are you so upset? Well, we all know that's a question, right? Question mark, and that is our interrogative. Making sure we end sentences is important when we end them correctly. You know what your teacher always says, make sure you put your end punctuation. It's sure to crack you up. Exclaiming that. That's an exclamatory. And if you saw the book earlier, it's sure to crack you up. You saw all these type sentences throughout this book. So then, the one that we see and sometimes get confused with, it's just a command. Hold your tongue. We thought in the literal way he was going to hold his tongue. Put a period. No, we knew his grandmother meant that he just needed to be quiet. This is our imperative. Now, this is a great writing strategy through the writing revolution when you put different types of sentences in your writing. And later on, you're going to have some ELA classes that teach you about different styles of writing. So some of the things we've talked about here, whether it be types of sentences or subordinating conjunctions or because, but, and so, all of these writing strategies help you to become a better writer. So you think, well, that's an easy, simple sentence. Yes, but a command put in a passage to begin your introductory sentence might make it more interesting. When you start a paragraph with a question, it makes it more interesting sometimes. So as we go through, we're also going to look at some other things in this funny story, more parts, because April is National Poetry Month. And I don't know if you realized it, but there was a rhyme and a rhythm through this silly book. It used quatrains. Quatrain is a story that is a poem that is 4 lines using a specific rhyme pattern. Okay? So this story talked about idioms. It had different types of sentences, and now we're going to look at how it has poetry. Even just the very first paragraph says, things are bad and getting worse. Each day it's something new. With all the stuff I hear about, I don't know what to do. You see 4 lines, and there's a rhyme on the 2nd and the 4th line. That makes this a quatrain. And so you're going through and you can pick out the different ones and notice. I guess that's possible. Who knows? You have an interrogative sentence here. I don't think Mom would lie. I better play more carefully. The pillow's worth a try. And you have simple declarative sentences. But you also have the quatrain that makes this a mentor text picture book, but very interesting with quatrains and with different types of sentences. It's sure to crack you up, an exclamatory sentence there. So you don't have to write something so in depth, but you can still use the strategies that you see from types of sentences, as well as things like a quatrain. Try a quatrain this week. Think about something in your life that's happened and write a 4-line poem. So a challenge for you this week at home is to think about the books that you're reading. Identify if there are any idioms in there. Think about what might work and how it would be literal. And then try the writing revolution strategy of types of sentences. Identify how many declaratives do you see. Is everything a declarative? Makes it more interesting when you see interrogatives. It makes it more interesting if there's an imperative in there. And then to wrap it up, maybe write a quatrain using different types of sentences to vary your writing. You know, with it being April and spring, maybe you could write about the things that are happening in nature. You could write about things that are happening in your world today that would help you to remember, and just use 4 lines. So I hope this is something that you will enjoy doing, and it's funny, and it's very important to use in our writing strategies with different types of sentences, but think about the idioms as you write as well. And have a great day. Thanks.